Hey, this is my two crush telling me today we're going to be doing another NFL breaking video. Today we're going to be doing the Jacksonville Jaguars, our third team in the AFC South. This is a team that really is not in a good spot right now. I mean, Gardner Minshew, he showed some signs of being a pretty good quarterback towards the beginning of last year, but after a while, it just got it got pretty bad towards the end of the season. And I mean, you look, he's being helped out. He has a pretty good wide receiver unit. But I guess, his tight end unit wasn't the best last year. That's what they traded for a new tight end this year. If I can find him, that would be amazing. But also, I mean, they've got Leonard Fournette on there, who isn't as good as he once was, like a lot of people. But he is still a solid running back, and Tyler Eifert is who I was talking about. That's who they got. And I mean, their defense is their defense is better than their offense. Okay, let's just be honest. Their offense is pretty bad, one of the worst in the league. But you look at their defense, and I mean, their secondary is pretty solid. Their linebacker unit is definitely the best part of their whole team. Like, surprisingly, a lot of teams you'll see have a really good linebacker unit. I mean, look, they've got Miles Jack, Joe Schobert. On that, they've got a 4-3 defense. Cassius Marsh. They've got a pretty good defense. So it'll be interesting to see what they can do in this. I mean, look at this. They play the Titans, too. They've got a very tough division. They, of course, play Green Bay. They play Baltimore. They play the Vikings. They have a very tough schedule. So I have a feeling they're going to probably be somewhere below 5-11. But don't get mad at me. It's a lot to do with their schedule, and it's a lot to do with the fact that they really just need a new quarterback. Let's get into this. So in week 1, up against Indianapolis, I don't know if Jacksonville can pull off a win this early against Indianapolis. I'm going to give this one to Indianapolis. They could definitely do it in week 17, but I mean, you look, I know they just switched over to Philip Rivers, and he's new to the system and everything, but he is still a very good quarterback, and they've got lots of weapons on that offense, and they've got a solid defense. So and it's a divisional game. So while Jacksonville is at home, in this one, I definitely think that Indianapolis can pull this one out, and then in week 2, kind of the same deal here, except for the Titans, of course, are a very very talented team. You see like Jonnu Smith, you see A.J. Brown, you see Derek, their running back, Derek something, I've already forgot his name. And you've got Ryan Tannehill. They're an insanely good team. Might be one of the best in the AFC this year. We'll see. And then in week 3, there's a reason this is a Thursday night game. This looks to be a pretty good game up against Miami. It's gonna be. So they're kind of this will probably be Ryan Fitzpatrick here, which I don't know if that helps them or hurts them, but I'm just gonna say it's Ryan Fitzpatrick. Very close game, but I honestly think Ryan Fitzpatrick might be better than Gardner Minshew right now, and plus they did add a lot to this team, and I'm gonna hand this one over to Miami. Very very close game here, could go either way. Kind of the same thing with Cincinnati, except for that I think that Joe Burrow is going to be pretty good. This might be one of his first wins in the season as he gets into this. But I think that Cincinnati will win with T. Higgins on that offense, and they do have. I mean, AJ Green. I mean, yeah, they're pretty. They're going to be a solid team this year. Once Joe Burrow actually gets into everything. And then in week 5, I'm sorry, but they're kind of on the same level as the Titans. You can see by the same record right now. I kind of think the same. Maybe later in the season we'll have to see. But right now, even with the loss of DeAndre Hopkins, the Texans are still much better than the Jaguars. Right now they're 0-5. They come out of the season with a 5-game losing streak, and I think in week 6 against Detroit, coming off of a bye week with Matthew Stafford. They're a solid team, but I'm going to have to hand this one to Jacksonville at home. They get their first win at home. I just think that, they're good enough to beat the Lions. And then they go into the bye week. They're 1-5. Their coaches tell them, like, hey, man, y'all have to really step this stuff up if y'all want to make the playoffs. Y'all have to practically win almost every one of the next games, and they come out in week 8, and I think they lose to Philip Rivers' former team, which does, I mean, they're again they're a very, very talented team. There's a lot of, like I said, they have a very, very tough schedule. And I mean, the Chargers, you saw, they've been pretty good the past couple of years. They haven't been great, but they haven't been really bad. I mean, they've got like Keenan Allen, Mike Williams on that team, and that wide receiver unit. Pretty good team here. Could probably stop Jacksonville, even though they're coming off of a bye week. And now I know it's been, 1, 2, 3. I know it's been 3 or 4 weeks since they fought Houston. I don't think with a bye week, I don't think that they're going to get enough. I don't think they're going to take enough of a step forward. They definitely will be better, and this will be a closer game than in week 5, but I still don't see Jacksonville winning this one. So 1-7 at this point. I mean, really, it's just a desperate. They got to desperately claw to the finish, trying to win some games, and I think in week 10 they fail. The Packers have remained elite for a long time, and I think that will still be the case this year. So yeah, they head into week 11, 1-8. Big Ben shows them how it's done. It beats them there. Week 12, this is another game that they could win. But I still think Cleveland, don't get me wrong, they have lots and lots of talent. It was just mishandled last year, and they underperformed a bit. But still, I'm going to have to give some to Cleveland. Maybe the new head coach can turn things around. Cleveland could be as good as they were hyped up to be last year. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm not saying it's not a possibility. And in week 13, I'm sorry, but I don't see there's any way that y'all possibly beat Minnesota. Y'all at this point are a pretty formidable team, but y'all have a pretty tough schedule. Going into week 14, I'm going to have Tennessee sweep you guys. They might be the best team in your division. And then in week 15, again, there's no way. It's impossible that you guys ever beat Baltimore. Week 16, though, I think you guys can pull off a win here against Chicago. I know they've got, I know that Mitch Trubisky and Nick Foles are not complete trash, but they're still not very good. They're like two kind of backup quarterbacks. And yes, they do have David Montgomery, but I feel like, Jacksonville, they're still a solid team. They're not a 1-15 team. And I think in week 17, I think they pull a stunner and they beat Indianapolis as they've gotten much better. And I know most people, whenever they say, oh, they're going to split, they normally do it like this, but I think Jacksonville is going to get better towards the end of the season, and we're going to see their progression, kind of how they go from losing at home to Indianapolis in week 1 to going on a 2-game winning streak, including beating Indianapolis in Indianapolis in week 17. So 3-13 is their final record. They're not going to be having the best. They're not going to have the number 1 draft pick, as you can see by the Jets, 2-14. But they will have a very good draft pick that we'll be able to add to this already pretty okay team that they have right now. Might be a good contender next year. So yeah, let's do worst case scenario. This is as bad as it can possibly get. I say that this is about as bad as you can get. I don't see y'all losing to Chicago. I feel like I don't feel like y'all could go 0-16. I feel like that is the one game that I am locked on right now. This is the game that I think you guys will definitely win. 1-15 is definitely as low as you could go. And again, this is not at all what I think will happen. I think they will go 3-13. That is what I believe wholeheartedly. I'll stick to it until they get 4 wins, if they do. So, Jacksonville fans, make sure your team proves me wrong by week 4. Anyways, and I think their best case scenario is, again, they beat them in week 17. They could beat Indianapolis in week 1. They could beat these 2 teams. And I guess, no, I guess they could pull off a win here against Cleveland if they play like they did last year. Then there is a chance that Jacksonville could jump on top. So 7-9 is as good as it can get. Again, this is not what I think will happen. I think 3-13 is going to be their record. But I think right now they can go from 1-15 to 7-9. Okay. Again, prove me wrong. there's no way I think that they go like 8-8, and I think there's no way that they go 0-16. So let me put all this stuff back where it belongs. There we go. 3-13 is the final record. Get mad at me in the comments. Get mad at me on Twitter. Get mad at me on Instagram. Do all that. You can go to planetpredictions.com and make your own predictions, and you can send them to me either via YouTube comments. You can send them to me on Instagram. You can use this permalink and send me the link to your whole team, or you can just take a screenshot of it and send it to me either on Twitter or on Instagram. Just tag me in the posts, something like that. And if I get at least 3 or 4, if I get a few of them, I will shout out whoever sent it to me, and I will react to them. So again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.